everyone. I'm Chad Bianco, Riverside County Sheriff, and welcome back to the RSO Roundup. Today we're going to continue with our episodes into what we do in the Sheriff's Department, the different divisions that we have, and introductions to some of our employees. And today I'm very happy to have Felicia Bowens with us, and she is one of our dispatchers, and she does more than just dispatch currently, so she's going to be filling us in on what she does and really about the role and the responsibility of dispatchers. And it's kind of going to be a shameless plug to recruit some of you too. So she's going to be doing her best to do that. So Felicia, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here, sir.
Very nice. We're glad to have you. So I mentioned before, we talked about there's everyone, when you talk about law enforcement, you talk about patrol and you talk about corrections, the Sheriff's Department, we have all these different functions within our department. And when you say patrol, internally, I know that when I say patrol, it covers everything with patrol, but sometimes I get talked to later that I left out our dispatchers. And for us in law enforcement, we know that patrol would not happen without dispatchers. So they are a very integral and unbelievably important part of patrol. We would not be able to do the job that we do without you. So number one, thank you very much for everything that you do. And I want to just spend a little bit of time talking about dispatch and about what you all go through and what you do for us. And you can't give away any secrets or anything of things that you know or stuff like that. But we really appreciate you coming here for this. And why don't you tell us really the most part that I want to impress upon everyone is, while we're law enforcement and while we wear uniforms to work and we belong to part of the Sheriff's Department and everything else, we're just people. You're just a person. You're a wife. Tell us about yourself and just let people get to know you.
Okay. Like the sheriff said, my name is Felicia Bowens. I'm a communications supervisor with the department, and yes, I'm a wife and a mother as well. My husband and I together, we have 4 children, and we have 2 dogs. We have a Yorkie and American Bulldog, so we love
So
our
you have
animals.
1 dog. I'm just kidding.
Yes, the Yorkie is a princess, so yes. We have 1 dog, the American Bulldog. But yeah, so I've been with the department for 18 years, and I want people to know that dispatching, we are a vital source within the department. We are the first point of contact with the public, and a lot of times when people call us, it's because they've been victimized and they're not calling because they are in a good mood. So our goal is to help people and to protect our deputies and make sure that they make it home safely every night.
Very nice. How old are your kids?
We have a 28-year-old, a 24-year-old, a 22-year-old, and a 14-year-old.
Very nice. So you've been doing this starting when your kids were young.
Yes.
And even to newborns. So you had some toddlers, some infants, and newborns even while you were doing this job.
Yes.
What brought you to this profession? What made you think you wanted to be a dispatcher?
I've always dealt in customer service, and when I learned about, I would watch the TV show Cops too, and listening to the dispatcher, I've always wanted to help people. And so I made the decision to apply with the department, and I've been here ever since 18 years ago.
Very nice. Outstanding. We're happy to have you here too. How for those out there, I'm a dad. I'm a husband. I'm a dad. You're a wife and a mom. When we come to work, we put on a different hat, and now we're law enforcement and we're first responders. We're just regular, normal people, just like anyone else, any of you out there. How was it raising your kids? And we have goofy schedules. I mean, you guys work 12-hour shifts and sometimes night shift and sometimes day shift and back and forth. You managed obviously well. And how was that? How was it difficult, and how did you manage it?
I'll be honest and say it was very challenging. There were times that we would miss the actual date of Christmas, and we would have to celebrate on different days. The same with Thanksgiving. You know, we work 24 hours, 7 days a week, weekends and holidays. We're there to offer help to the citizens of the Riverside County. So it was a huge sacrifice that I had to make, you know, for my family in order to work for the department. But it's a very rewarding career.
Were your husband and your kids were good with it?
It was challenging.
Y-
I'll be honest and say,
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
my kids were the same way. We celebrate birthdays on different birthdays, and we like to tell them that for the most part you get two. You're
Right.
getting the benefit of two because we're going to celebrate this day, but the real day is this day. We get to celebrate it twice, and that that's something that people don't think about
Right.
when you talk about our job because we don't get to take vacation on Christmas and vacation on New Year's and birthdays and ball games. We have to come to work to serve the public, and it is a big sacrifice that we make, and our kids and our spouses sometimes take the brunt of that, and they have to assume that responsibility with us. So I'm very glad that it's working out for you, and you're a supervisor with us now.
Yes.
And you're not actually at the dispatch center anymore.
I'm currently assigned to our Training and Education Bureau.
So you are training our new dispatchers that are watching us out here that are
Yes.
going to apply because you're so friendly and they want to come work with you.
Please come join our agency.
And you will train them well.
Yes.
So you have the Dispatch Academy at Ben Clark Training Center that you are responsible for.
Yes. So we have the training center at Ben Clark, and it's a 5-week academy for our public safety answering point. As soon as you're hired with the agency, you will come to our 5-week academy where you will learn all of the CAD commands. That's the computer aided dispatch. That's the computer system that we use to input information into. And then we have 2 instructors who are in that academy who teach the class. And upon completion of that, the dispatcher will go to their respective dispatch center where they will train side by side with a communications training officer and work the position of the phone position. That's the entry level.
Very nice. So we're once you complete all of that training and you actually come to work for us and you're a dispatcher, you go to our dispatch center. We have a dispatch center in Riverside and then one in the east end of the county, out in the desert. And so at any given time, we probably have 30, 40, 50 dispatchers working at once.
Yes.
Yes. So, and roughly half, or maybe a little bit more than half, are taking the 911 calls for service.
Yes.
And then the other half are actually running the computer systems, the CAD system centers, multiple screens and keyboards and radios, keeping all of our deputies on track. And you're basically the boss of everything that they do, directing them, getting them to whatever call they're supposed to go. Most importantly, keeping them safe, getting people there to help them. I've sat along and watched and listened, and I don't want to make this anything about like a male and female related and female dispatchers, but I will say that I think that females have a definite advantage. I know I look at all of those things going on multitasking. I couldn't do it. There's no way I could have that many screens going, keyboards and a radio, and keeping track of so many people. I just feel like I couldn't do it. So I think that just may be some reason why most of our dispatchers are female. We do have male dispatchers.
Yes, we do have male dispatchers.
And they do a great job, and more power to them. They're unique, because if we want to argue with that men can't do more than one thing at a time, I will say that's true. Mm-hmm. But the work that you all put in up there and the effort and the intensity is just amazing. Not only the dispatching of calls, but to me, the hardest part, I think, would be the calls, answering the 911 calls. When people call 911, they're not calling to tell you how great their day went.
No.
It's a bad time for them.
Right. They're calling because they've been victimized. They're calling because their loved one has been injured, or they're calling for help for their loved one.
Yeah.
I still remember to this day a call that I had taken 18 years ago. It was a mother, and I can still hear her voice in my head because her baby was not breathing.
Yeah.
And so my job as a dispatcher is to get her help for her child. And that's what I did on that day. But I can still hear the mom screaming that her baby is not breathing.
I can hear your emotion. I can feel your emotion. I can see your emotion. You're going to make me cry, and then you're going to make me mad, and I'm not ever having you back on the podcast again.
Sorry.
But, that's people don't take that into account when they think about us and the job that we do, is the emotion, the constant emotion that goes into it. you have that many people calling you all night long. How many calls do you think that you would take in a shift when you were answering?
Hundreds.
And they're not good. They're mad at you. They're mad at somebody else. They're hurt by someone else, and you have to fight through that emotion to get minimum facts of what's going on, so you know what you have to dispatch or how many people you have to dispatch. It's a unbelievable responsibility that our dispatchers take on from the moment they sit down in that chair.
Yes, there's a lot of information that we have to obtain when someone is reporting being a victim of a robbery, let's say, for example. We need to have the suspect information. And a lot of times people don't realize that we have to ask these questions so that once the deputies are on scene, they know who they're looking for. So they might feel that we are wasting time by asking these questions, but it's pertinent information that our deputies need. Upon going on scene, if they see the person who's walking away who has on a black hat, a red shirt, and pink shorts, for example, that could be the suspect. So that's very important information.
Right. So you take that call for service, you enter that all into the system, and then you send it up to the dispatcher that's doing the actual dispatching to the units. Is there a time like you make a very, very quick emotional attachment sometimes to those callers, and sometimes the adrenaline and everything else that has to go into effect when you're trying to fight through those emotions to get information from them. Is there times that I know in the past we haven't been very good at making sure, and maybe in whether it's the dispatchers and even us on the other end, the non-dispatchers, we didn't think it was important, but we're realizing now that it's important for you to find out what the closure of that call was, because you take the call of the baby not breathing, but you never find out if we got there and the baby was breathing.
Right.
So the emotional toll is bad. But do you think we've made strides in that area? Obviously, I think we could probably get better, and you'll probably tell me we could get better.
I do. I know that there are a few stations who do a debrief and allow the dispatchers to come in, because there are a lot of times, like you said, it's the end of our shift and we don't get the closure that we would like to have to find out what happened. So our dispatchers have been invited by several stations to attend the debriefing, and that way they receive the information that they missed upon leaving their shift.
Yeah, it's a little bit different as a deputy. When we go out and handle these calls, we don't feel that emotion. We just get the text, and we assume that we're going into the right thing, and we don't know whether someone was screaming at you or whether they were calmly giving you the information. And so, but with us, we know how it ends. We know how that call ends, and then we kind of have that closure and we move on. But sometimes you're taking hundreds of calls a night. You're just getting one on top of the other. That emotion, you just have to quickly move into the next one. After you hit send, it's 911, how can I help you? Or what's your emergency? And you're off into the next one. It's a big responsibility. And from our perspective, from a patrol perspective, we absolutely love our dispatchers. And there is a relationship that gets built between dispatchers and the patrol deputies, because you're our only constant. You're the voice that's telling us what to do. We're asking you for help. You're directing help. You're working behind the scenes when we give you the wrong information of where we are, and you figure it out and really send us help where we really need it instead of where we thought we were. How valuable you are to law enforcement. I really don't think people understand that, especially people that want to be dispatchers. I hope there's no one else out there that says I don't want to just be a dispatcher, because dispatches, it's the backbone of any patrol operation. So it's that relationship that we as deputies build with our dispatchers it's I don't know even what to call it. It's unique, it's special. I mean, you're our best friends when we're working there.
Yes, and we have the relationships with the deputies, and we even recognize voices over the radio as well.
There were a lot of times when you never see faces. I mean, where you could be, if you're working Hemet, for instance, and you're in Riverside, I'm working Hemet, you're in Riverside, we're never going to see each other. Mm-hmm. But as soon as I hear that radio key up and a dispatcher talk, I know who it is, right, just on the voice. And I know you guys can do that too, where you know what all of the deputies sound like. So we don't, if we just get on the radio and scream help or whatever it is, you know whose voice that was. In addition to the backup, you don't have to look to see what radio it was and match that up. You've already you know who it is and you just automatically respond.
Right. And we can recognize the stress in the voice too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Would you do anything different?
No, I love my job.
Like me, I would never not do anything other than this. I can't imagine doing other type of work. And I've had plenty of dispatchers tell me the same thing, that they feel like they were meant to do this, and they're good at it. And so, yeah, I mean, it's just something that was in you, I guess, and that was what you were called for.
Yes.
Very nice. Any words of advice, or now we need to plug and get people in there? Now that we scared them and told them how horrible it was and how stressful and everything else, it's we need dispatchers. We're in constant need of dispatchers. And just for regular attrition from hiring and retiring and moving away or something like that, we're always hiring, and the need is always there. Any words of advice or recruitment tips to get people to come in?
Please practice typing. It's very important that as a dispatcher, we're able to type. And we definitely need people. It's a very rewarding career. Our department, there are different levels where you can promote within to a senior communications officer, to a communications supervisor, and a communications manager. So it's a very rewarding career. And if you enjoy helping the public, please join rsd.org.
It's definitely, that was a nice shameless plug at the end, joinrsd.org. Yes, absolutely. How many dispatchers do we have right now? Do you know that?
We currently have about 78 dispatchers at our Riverside Center. For our Desert Center, I don't know the numbers for sure.
And we probably, I believe the last thing I was told, we probably need around 30 more.
Yes.
Yeah, there is a lot of overtime there.
Yes. Right now, we currently work 14 hours of mandatory overtime per pay period.
So every 2 weeks you have to work 14 hours extra.
Yes.
That makes it a little bit rough too for schedules and things like that.
Right, but it can be very beneficial. A lot of our dispatchers, we enjoy taking vacations, buying nice cars. A lot of people want to save up for their children's college fund or a new house. And so the additional overtime is there and available. And a lot of the dispatchers take advantage of it.
That's good. I mean, it's just it's priorities. I mean, sometimes you have to sacrifice if you want those extra things, but in our line of work, we like our time off when we get it.
Definitely. And
the amount of overtime that sometimes we're forced to work, I guess you do benefit from it. We're getting paid for it.
Right.
It's a service career. You want to serve others, and you're placing yourself and that mom and that wife and that life, you're placing the service above self, and you're putting that toward other people, where you want to sacrifice some of those things that you have because you want to help other people. I think that's I think it's synonymous with, if I was talking to a deputy sheriff, it's no different. The importance of your job can't be overemphasized. It's something that we can't do without. But it's something that's behind the scenes that the public really doesn't see. So I'm glad that you came on today to talk about it. And anything else that you want to say? Any funny stories, sad stories, bad stories? As long as it doesn't involve me, anything's fair game.
Okay, well, we'll end on a funny note, because I know it was very emotional with the first call. But normally when people call us, it's not because they're happy. Like I've said, it's because they've been victimized. And on one particular day, I remember it was Thanksgiving. And so this lady called in and she said, I just want to tell you guys thank you for what you do. And thank you for sacrificing your time to come into work in order to help us. You guys have a great day.
Very nice.
So that was very special.
For something like that, we don't mind them using 911 for something it wasn't intended to. That's nice. We like those all of those 10, 20, 30 bad, stressful ones. It only takes one that's like that, and we forget about all those others, and we're like, that's why we're doing it, and then we keep going. Right. Very good. Well, I'm glad you were here, Felicia. It was great talking to you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm glad that you're in the training environment and making our future dispatchers. Hopefully there's some out there that are watching now that will see you shortly.
Yes.
And I appreciate you being on.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So everyone, I appreciate you wanting to pay attention to what we're doing here as we learn about the Sheriff's Department on the RSO Roundup. And until next time, see you then.